I'm Dr.P.Lalitha from Birla Institute of Technology and Sciences, Hyderabad campus, India. I'm here to present ICT and Information and Communication Technology and secondary schools in India. I've done a case study in Hyderabad, which is a part of Telangana, a newly formed state in India. If you look at the importance of ICT in schools, the acceleration of technological advancement has led to a new globalization era, as we all know. This new global era has serious implications for the nature and purpose of educational institutions. It's a time for the educational institutions to look at the way the technology is growing and how are we, gearing up with the change in the technology. The access to information is expected to grow exponentially. In this scenario, schools cannot remain as mere venues for the transmission of a prescribed set of syllabus from a teacher to a student over a fixed period of time. That has been the situation till now. In fact, till now I shouldn't say we are changing. In fact, they are meant for acquisition of knowledge and skills that make possible continuous learning over the lifetime. The research questions which I have addressed in my research is at what level are teachers' ICT competency, frequency and functional use of ICT. Does the age group, income and gender of teachers have an impact on the usage of ICT? Does this teacher skill set like subject, computer knowledge and skills, computer availability at home, experience, time spent, internet connectivity have an impact on the usage of ICT? These are part of one. And the second one is what differential role does ownership of the management has an impact on the usage of the ICT? Does ownership of the management in terms of public and private schools has an impact of ICT usage by the teachers? And thirdly, how the Board of Education can have an impact on the usage of ICT in secondary schools? Does the Board of Education like SSC, Board of Andhra Pradesh and CBSE have an impact on the usage of ICT by teachers? By now you might have got it out that already my colleague has repeated on the same variables, so how am I different? So, because the variables, the independent variables are the same because of the same study, but where are we different is, because it's important to bring it down to the floor, is the dependent variable, that is usage of ICT. So there is a question where we have 10, we ask the teachers to tick on 10 different variables. Like for instance, do you use ICT for making question papers, and you use for teaching material, and you use for googling your information for preparation of teaching, and do you use for communicating with the students? There are like 10 questions we have asked the teachers regarding the usage of ICT in their respective schools. And there what we have done is we have followed a method called experts opinion method, and we have given this to the experts, professors in the universities, and asked them to give weights on these 10 parameters. What should be the purpose of usage of ICT? It's very interesting that the purpose of ICT, what has been given weighted by the professors, is very different from what actually the teachers have been using. So actually this is what we have done. The purpose of introducing ICT in teaching is different, whereas the teachers are actually using for communicating and for applying leave letters, something like that. So this is what is the difference we have found. So I have made this as a dependent variable and made all the independent variables like age, income, computer knowledge and Board of Education and all. So in that way this study is different from the earlier study. And the data were gathered in the year 2014 with a questionnaire directed to teachers in 20 schools in Hyderabad in state of Telangana, India. 10 public schools, they are government schools, of which 5 schools are from SSC syllabus, which is a state-owned syllabus, and 5 schools are free CBSE, which is a central board secondary education. Remaining 10 schools were private-owned, of which again we have taken 5 SSC schools and 5 CBSE schools. And the data analysis is the data collected from survey were analyzed in several ways. First, a frequency distribution, generating absolute and cumulative frequencies and percentages is calculated for each question. And secondly, a measure of central tendency is calculated for the purpose of comparison of the data with other questions. And thirdly, analysis of various ANOVA was conducted on the sample collected. 200 teachers were given the questionnaire personally and asked to take the questions, and of which it is that 67.5% of them were females and 32. It's not that we wanted it deliberately; it has happened. We find mostly, lady teachers in schools. In the category of age group, 18% of the teachers are less than 35, and 50.5% of them are between 35 to 50 years, and 11.5% of the teachers are in the age group of more than 50 years. And of the 200 respondents, it has been observed that 38 respondents, that is 19% of them, have taken no for the question. What we have asked as a part of the total questionnaire is, do you use ICT? So they said out and out, 19% of the people said, teachers said they don't use, they are not using as of now. 20% of the teachers are right away can be removed from the analysis. And ANOVA test is conducted to see the impact of gender on the usage of ICT. So the value of 0.93 says that there is no impact of gender on the usage of ICT. So it's very interesting, even the gender, if you look at the males and females are more in our data survey, but it is showing that there is no impact of the gender has no impact. And in order to understand the impact of income earned by the teachers has any impact on the usage, even that also proved with the F value saying that 0.15 indicates that there is no impact of income on the usage of ICT. And F values for like subject which teachers are teaching, like 0.21 is saying again that there is no impact, and computer knowledge, 0.77 of F value is saying there is no impact, and availability of computer at home also has no impact in our study in Hyderabad, which has been told. And whereas the experience of the teachers and time spent and the internet connectivity at home is showing a significant impact on the usage of ICT in teaching and learning. Data when tested against the ownership, public or private, in Hyderabad it's been, the results are saying that there is no impact whether it's a private owned or a government owned on the usage of ICT. But whereas the Board of Education, which is CBSE and the Central Board and the State Board, has shown a significant difference. And we have not gone into the details. Again, if we have to go, there should be one more test which has to be conducted. What at peripherally it has been proved that the Board of Education has an impact on the usage of ICT. If at all we look at the nature of the CBSE's Central Board, and the pedagogy is very important here. If we look at the Central Board pedagogy is very standard in that Central Board, and which insists on the usage of computers. So irrespective whether the teachers are reluctant or not, but the pedagogy sometimes dominates and makes the teachers to learn and somehow get it. Even the social studies teachers, mathematics teachers also should teach sometimes on computer. Using ICT is something has become a part of their teaching. So that is clearly getting reflected in our survey. And the conclusion is the survey proves that the Board of Education has an impact, and the gender, age group and income of the teachers have no impact, and the ownership of the schools has no bearing on the usage of the ICT. And when we looked at the at a different level, at a minute level, it's been proved that the private schools are showing better in ICT usage than the government schools in Hyderabad. And it's very important to talk about the reliability, limitations and the future directions. A part of the questionnaire used in the study consisted of the questions where the participants have to answer by themselves. So if the questionnaire has to be answered by themselves, it's very important that it has to be kept in the limitation. It is their judgment, right? It's not that we have asked and they themselves have to tick. So that's the biggest limitation of such questionnaires. So I thought I should put it here. While analyzing this kind of a self-reported material, it is important to acknowledge the limitations involved in the generalizing these results. And the future research may involve in understanding the difference in the pedagogy in State Board and CBSE syllabus in implementing ICT in teaching and learning. When the Board of Education is showing an importance, so it's important for the future research to get into how different the CBSE is from the SSE. So what SSE can learn from CBSE to make more usage of ICT in their schools. This is what is the study, and these are the references. Thank you.
Yes. My question doesn't look at your presentation. It's very good. I'm a bit more curious to know what steps are you taking to bring awareness of ICT to the general population in the place where you are? Of course, India has got a very large population, but that area, do you have any future steps in bringing awareness to the general population? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be answering on behalf of the government because governments are conducting programs for the teachers to start using computers in teaching, and in CBSE and especially in private schools, teachers have to stay back after, because my sister-in-law works. I'm sure what I'm saying. The teachers have to stay back after the school